Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Game Ball Podcast stream. I'm your host, Mark. We're here with the News Hour on this very special day of recording, July 6th, 2025. It is yours truly's 40th birthday. So, thank you for all the well wishes that I know you are saying out loud in your car right now. I do appreciate it. So, it has been a wild and crazy weekend. For me, it's the final tournament for my niece's softball. She has regionals at the end of the month, but in terms of with her team that she's been with for 4 years and the girls, it was a final tournament this weekend, so that was kind of emotional. And then, July 4th weekend, doing all that stuff. I had my party with friend of the podcast, Anthony Delvecchio, host of TC Tam. And Dan and Tom and Jen and all were there. So we had that on Saturday. And then today, got kind of surprised with the family lunch. I had my suspicions because my mom picked a place that was like 3 blocks away from me and said, hey, we're going to come pick you up. Which I interpreted as they didn't want me going there and accidentally running into somebody. Being the surprise. But she's not great at hiding that stuff. So I had my suspicions. I thought it might just be my sister and my nieces, but it turned out to be some cousins and an aunt that I hadn't seen in a few months. So it was nice. But we're here for video games. And the only video game I've really been playing this week, which will change as of tomorrow, is Death Stranding 2. I think we're at 20-something hours already. If you're watching this live, I may or may not stream after this, just depending on how long this goes. This might be a shorter news hour just because I have nothing up front here outside of Death Stranding. My only other thing is I played NHL 25, so you know that whole spiel. Still same things going on there. Nothing new has happened, just played a couple more games. But yeah, the Death Stranding, I'll say here, there's so much more quality of life improvements in that game that we need it in terms of cargo management, vehicles able to go to most places, not being forced to do things, like being able to choose what you want to do in terms of how to make deliveries. That stuff is all great. Combat still sucks ass, but I think you could have gotten away with minimal combat and a lot of the, like maybe the only combat really being, they call them brigands in this game. You're sort of like fodder enemy a little bit, where you have to rescue stuff from their bases and take them out and raid them and stuff like that to deliver things that they have stolen. If that was the only combat, great. And if there was a boss fight at the end of every 5 chapters, maybe that's something. But the thing that I really don't like and I didn't really care for, and it's why I immediately, if you watch the streams, why I immediately go to build the roads and the monorail and all that shit, is because I really dislike the BT stuff, which is like the ghost-like figures that if you run into them, it gives you like a mini boss fight in terms of, the beach things, the big black tar things that you've seen in all the previews. And then they introduced this new one called Watchers, which essentially makes it harder to sneak past them. And they're a mini boss fight if you get caught by them. So, like, again, combat isn't the strong suit. I don't know why he felt forced to put it in the game, but it is in there. So, it's the one thing that it's the thing that'll keep it from being more than a 9 out of 10 by the time I'm finishing it, is the combat. I can't rightfully give it a 9.5 or 10 out of 10 because the combat is terrible. Even when you're fighting the humans and stuff, it's kind of hard, Yeah, but it's not hard as in difficult, just like, it's so finicky and, the aim stuff wasn't great. They added aim assist and all that. I haven't gotten to use it yet. I just unlocked it. But, that stuff, quality of life, cargo management, combat, all roughly the same as Death Stranding 1, except, the improvements in quality of life. I meant to say cargo, not quality of life, earlier in that sentence. But all that stuff is great. The map stuff is great. The new points you get as your passives is a great system. That you can reset it and do, if you're a more combat focused mission, you might need some combat, stuff like that. If you're trying to build up your links or your strands with other players, you can build up that part of it for a couple missions or whatever. But you can, outfit it the way you want. But I think the real thing where the game is not shining for me, but because the writing is still Kojima, and it's sometimes very much on the nose or too much on the nose, and just simple stuff like that. But what I will say, and this is just comparing it to Death Stranding 1, over than any other game. So really the comparison here is just between those two games. I think the story and writing for this one is much more engaging than Death Stranding 1's story ever was. I feel connected, for lack of a better term, to all the characters. I understand Sam's journey and the kind of fucked up mental state that he's in. Fragile's in kind of a fucked up mental state as well. Everybody on the ship, except for, you've seen her in the trailer, so it's not a spoiler. Except Rainey, is messed up in some way. Dollman is on the fence. I don't know whether he's just an unlucky person or he's messed up in the head and wanted to become a puppet, a living puppet. I don't know. Even Tarman's stuff is a little messed him up mentally. We haven't met, if you've seen in the trailer, we haven't met Hartman. Still, we kind of met who the patron is, but it's not really a face to it. We met the president, which I believe is an AI. But, like I said, I've said on the internet and in group chats and all, this is the most unspoilable game that I've ever played. You can show me screenshots or say things, and it's still surprising to me when it shows up in the game. There's no rhyme or reason for things, and the big drops might be in the last 3 hours. That stuff is very spoilery probably, but anything I played in the first 20 hours, I could mention something that goes on, and you would either have seen it in some way in a clip or something, or it would make no sense to you to even be able to spoil anything for you. So in that aspect, the overall game, it's currently sitting at an 8.5 for me. In terms of, it looks gorgeous. Sound is amazing. Soundtrack is great. It has a lot of the goofy Kojima stuff in it, which if you watch the videos back on YouTube, you'll see a couple of them that I mean. The walking and the delivering the products, or I'm driving around most of the time now because I built 2/3 of the roads in Australia, is top notch again. It's literally, the last time I streamed, I went to take, a quick break, go get something to drink, stretch a little bit, about 2.5 hours in, and then I was like, you know what, we're going to do this one thing, and then we'll end. And I got sidetracked and stuff, just doing great, building a road, doing a couple deliveries and stuff like that. And all of a sudden, it was another 2 hours went by. And I think that's the best compliment for me in the game, is that I don't know if it's entertaining for you guys, but as I made clear when I said we're streaming these newer games, I'm going to play them as I would play them. So I might be a little quiet at times. We might do a lot of, bullshit like we're doing here with Death Stranding. But it's just how I'm playing it. Chat's open. You guys want to come in and talk with me? We can talk stuff. But, I'm not going to just mainline the story just for streamers or views or anything like that. Because God knows we don't have enough to even worry about that. And we're tired. I just turned 40. Tom's got 2 kids. Jen's got a kid. Game Vault, we're doing best we can here. We're doing it for us more than anything. And if we catch one viral, something that's awesome. But yeah, I like playing these games. And yeah, you'll get some of the boring stuff like that 2-hour period I mentioned in the last stream. If I fire it up tonight, we're going to start off with a mission. So there won't be boring stuff there. I found out that I need different material for the monorail than I do for the roads. So I should be able to build a whole bunch of the monorail fairly quickly because I've been hoarding all materials. And I believe the roads take ceramic and metal. And the monorail takes... hold on one second. For the video viewers, you just saw me sneeze there. The monorails, I believe, are special alloy and resin, I think. So, 2 different things, which is great. I hate in games when you have to build stuff and they're 2 completely different things. Like, I'm not talking about houses and buildings. Like, obviously, they're going to share stone and wood and stuff like that in games where you build stuff. That's fairly obvious. The thing that I like about this is that they are 2 different things. So it's already scarce enough on the ceramic part. I'm glad I do not need ceramic for the monorail. So if you're going to have things shared and they need to be abundantly, I think there's going to be a lot of metal shared because metal is everywhere in this game. But yeah, so yeah, when we fire it up again, whether it's tonight or like sometime next week, we're going to be starting a story mission and probably doing some monorail building. So, might be why I won't do it tonight. Just because I do want to have a nice long window to do some monorail building. So, alright, I think that'll do it. Not much else I've been playing. Starting next week, College Football 26 comes out, so we will be talking about that. I will have a new game to add to this list. Yeah, I don't know if there's a way for me to stream it. I mean, there's a way for me to stream it, but I mean, I don't know what would be fun to you guys. Maybe I'll just stream on Friday, like just a 2-hour session of playing it for me. And just talk through it as just a Friday night session. But yeah, either way, that is coming out next week. So, and then I'm not probably going to play it, but maybe Tom would want to fire it up with Tony Hawk's 3 and 4 coming out, just to show that off for you guys. But yeah, things are starting to come out. We got Delta coming out soon, and then all the stuff in the fall. So, looking forward to it. I'm trying to get Death Stranding done by the end of July, because there is no news hour on the 27th, I believe, is today's the 6th, 13th, yeah, 27th. There will be no news hour because I will be on vacation. I leave for Toronto on the 22nd and going to be in Pittsburgh after that, and then I'll be back on Monday in Philly here. So no news hour. I can't even do like an early one because I'm gone all week. It's literally going to be news hour to news hour that I'm gone. So I don't know if Tom wants to pick it up or somebody wants to pick it up, or we just don't do it. But yeah, that'll do it for what I've been playing. Let's get into the news. We had a pretty big news story this week. I don't think I'm going to do it justice too much, but we're just going to talk about it here. The first story we got here is Microsoft layoffs. A lot of this has changed a bunch since it's come out. It's real shitty. That's besides the point. Like we all know. It's the whole gaming division includes King was hit hard, which is rare because Rare was also hit, but King makes Candy Crush, and those games should print money. You shouldn't need to lay off those divisions. Yeah, so Bethesda's London office was hit. Everything. It was about 4%, or roughly 9,100 employees in Microsoft, and a lot of them came from, Xbox. I'll read this whole memo from Phil Spencer, just to reiterate this and think it's very, 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 very shitty. From Phil Spencer, today we are sharing decisions that will impact colleagues across our organization to position gaming for enduring success and allow us to focus on strategic growth areas. We will end or decrease work in certain areas of the business and follow Microsoft's lead in removing layers of management to increase agility and effectiveness out of respect for those impacted today. The specifics of today's notifications and any organizational shifts will be shared by your team leads in the coming days. And the rest of it is just a bunch of PR bullshit from there. And yeah, I think the other line is the next two sentences are basically all I want to read. I recognize that these changes come at a time when we have more players, games, and gaming hours than ever before. Our platform, hardware, and game roadmap have never looked stronger. The success we're seeing currently is based on tough decisions we've made previously. We must make choices now for continued success in the future, and a key part of that strategy is the discipline to prioritize the strongest opportunities. So, essentially, part of me thinks, and I'm not, Phil Spencer has lost all credibility, or not credibility so much. I don't think he's lied ever. Well, he's probably lied. He's an executive, but you know what I mean. What's the word I'm looking for? Probably trust or like Teflon or anything from, at least definitely from me and other things, because hasn't been able to keep a lot of these layoffs from occurring in Xbox area of Microsoft, because I believe that Big M Microsoft was looking for some kind of return on investment with Activision, and that $69 billion, nice, purchase price was like probably higher than they wanted to spend, and they wanted to see some return on it. And I just think that's the main issue, Microsoft probably not making as much money as Big M would want them to. I think we'll get to it in a second. I suspect Game Pass has something to do with that a little bit. Not as much as you would think, but I think there's a smidge Game Pass. You see the recommends up here. That's the story I'm talking about that we'll get to, I think, next. But, it sucks, and I hate reporting terrible news, but we do have to do it. Oh, and I forgot to mention before this, Xbox, Microsoft, more specifically, is part of the BDS boycott divestment movement for supporting Israel against Palestine and all the atrocities in Gaza. So just put that out there every time we mention Xbox and Microsoft here. But they just keep making gaming news that I can't ignore on this podcast. We'll probably ignore it on Podcast Prime. But we can. This is something I could not ignore here. So just be aware of that if you decide to cancel your Game Pass subscriptions. I hope that this shit isn't in connection to that. Not because I think boycotts. I'm not against the boycott. It's just I hope this isn't Microsoft's reaction to the boycott is to just cut people from the Xbox division to save money that they're not making from people canceling Game Pass. That's my hope. That this has more to do with the Activision merger than BDS. So, all right, moving on. We still have a little bit of a Microsoft block here. The founder of Arcane Studios said the subscription model is unsustainable. Why is nobody talking about the elephant in the room? When asked to expand on his thoughts, which Weird West, which was an Arcane game title, in March 2022, Colantino said, "I think Game Pass is an unsustainable model that has been increasingly damaging to the industry for a decade. Subsidized by Microsoft's infinite money, but at some point, reality has to hit. I don't think Game Pass can coexist with other models. They'll either kill everyone else or give up." It just brings up the debate again over Game Pass, and as I've said previously, Game Pass is the best deal in gaming, and I can completely understand this side of it, in terms of, the fact that Game Pass's model could be, affecting sales and things like that. And if you pay a set amount of money for a game to be on Game Pass, or you get paid per download, it might not be the same as someone buying a $60 game. Your percentage off that. But they'll never really, release the information that would help with that. It just reminds me, as this says back in 2021, Phil Spencer said, "I know there's a lot of people that like to write that we're burning cash right now for some future pot of gold at the end. No. Game Pass is very, very sustainable right now as it is, and it continues to grow." And like I said, that was 4 years ago. And now all these layoffs are coming. So, could it be connected? One final quote here. Michael Dowse, who is the publishing director at Larian, said, "What happens when all the money runs out from Big M Microsoft? It's one of the main economic reasons people I know haven't shifted to its business model. The infinite money thing never made any sense." And the full quote, "The economics never made any sense, but at the same time, I do recognize that for smaller teams with new or riskier IP, it helped the risk." That's a terrible writing in the quote if you're watching the video. "Much prefer Sony's lifecycle management strategy." Yeah, the only way Game Pass can coexist without hurting everyone is for the back catalog. Not exactly sure what he's saying there, but I get the point. Is Sony's model better to be sustainable and, not lose money for studios and the company? Who knows? That's what the great thing about, as much as we complain about it, the free market thing. We'll find out which one of these is either good or has the most money behind it, one way or the other. So moving on, I think we have one more Microsoft story here. And this one's more I pulled for Tom. Forza Motorsport team is no more. Former developer claims with remaining Turn 10 staff left to support the Horizon side. Forza Motorsport director Turn 10 Studios has been heavily impacted by this week's brutal Microsoft layoffs, former employees have claimed, reportedly resulting in Xbox sim racing being wound down. Turn 10 Studios has shuttered the Forza Motorsport space, and the team is no more. Fred Russell, the content coordinator for a former content coordinator for Forza Motorsport, said on a post on Facebook, "A very sad day for one of the best car racing video games. I loved my time there." Responding to a comment, Russell said the studio is open to support this Horizon side, and that Microsoft has shuttered the Forza Motorsports side only. So adding to the thing that Horizon has become the more popular game. Chris Harding, another former Turn 10 studio, suggested that 120 people were gone from Forza Motorsports side. Yeah. So Phil Spencer recently confirmed that the next Forza title would arrive in 2026. It's widely assumed that this meant a new entry in the Forza Horizon series, rather than a follow-up to the 2023's most recent Forza Motorsport, which was set up as something of a series reboot but launched to mixed response. Now Forza Motorsport is reportedly no more, with no one at Turn 10 Studios left currently working on it. The legacy will stay, Russell concluded, even if there's no future for the game. So, not being a car racing guy, I think the last one that I was really into, I mean, I loved Horizon and would play a little bit of Motorsport when they were on Game Pass. But I think Gran Turismo, the original, and Gran Turismo 2 were the ones that I played the most. Yeah, I don't know. I liked Horizon better than Motorsport, but that might just be my inclination that my favorite racing game of all time is Burnout Paradise. And it's one of the few ones that I have played. And I feel like Horizon's the closest to a Burnout Paradise style game for me, so I enjoyed my time with that a little bit more. Yeah, it's like, it's all this Microsoft stuff came out. I know I'm a little late on it, because I think it literally dropped on like Tuesday or Wednesday, and we record this every Sunday, so I know I'm playing catch up. The good and the bad is that I don't get to drop this news like immediately. But the bad is that, or that's the bad. The good is that I get to, talk about it once a lot of the things have been confirmed. So next up, I think we're moving on from Xbox to another studio doing something that is slightly opposite of what Microsoft. Microsoft shut down a bunch of games, which includes, I forgot for that story, Microsoft stuff. Perfect Dark is gone. Everwild's gone. Looks like Motorsport's gone. An unannounced MMO from the Elder Scrolls people is gone. And they just shuttered a whole bunch of games. Ones we probably don't even know about. But all the games you saw in the June showcase are safe. What that means for the ones that weren't shown, like Kojima's OD, and what was the other really popular game? Contraband. What it means for those. But in other studio shutting down news, not studio, but game, EA will shut down Anthem in January. No one was laid off because of this decision, which is good. They probably just got shifted to new jobs. EA announced it will shut down BioWare's Anthem on January 12th, 2026. Because Anthem's only content is online, this means the game will be unplayable after that date. Premium in-game currency will stop being sold today, which was July 3rd. Through existing balances, those existing balances will still be able to be used until Anthem shuts down. The game will be removed from EA Play on August 15th, 2025. But will still be available for download if it's already in your library until it officially shuts down. Anthem launched back in 2019, lukewarm stuff. It felt it's one of those where, if it was given more time and more energy to it, I think they might have been able to fix the stuff, but it was just very, story wasn't great that they were doing. Came on the heels of Destiny and all that stuff, and yeah, it just didn't find its footing, and they're just finally just cutting it off at this point. So if you were an Anthem player and you were still playing it, you have till January, and then it'll be all done. But at least you know ahead of time that you can either transition to another game or just have like goodbye final sessions here. But make sure if you have that premium currency, that you use it just to make sure you get the most out of what you have, because you can't buy anymore. So Yeah, moving on to things that are not shutting down or game news. This is a game coming back. 16 years after the last NCAA basketball game, EA Sports claims it is bringing back the madness. Hell yeah. If you're EA wasn't more descriptive than that, but a message they posted on social media said, bring the madness, let's run it back. And it was a photo of a basketball with the EA Sports logo on it. Hashtag CBB, the acronym for college basketball, and it's in the game. So, after successfully bringing back the football game last year, I'm excited for this. I was always first. I don't know if this will change, because a lot of my allegiances with video game sports have changed over the years. I used to be a huge baseball video game player, and then I just stopped playing for a while, and then the show became free, or I played the show a couple times. I played it, the one with Bryce Harper on the cover, and then played it when it was free and stuff like that. Yeah, I used to be a huge baseball video game player, and in terms of the college game, I was more a college basketball guy than a college football guy, video game-wise, starting from 94, with the Coach K college basketball for the Sega Genesis. All the way up and through, I would say probably mid-2000s, the football started taking over, because the basketball games just kept getting shittier. And the football games kept getting better, and so they kind of did that thing where it's like two things on a scale here, and they just kind of did that at some point. But I did love the hell out of NCAA Basketball 10, which is the last one. The problem with it is that game is an unstable mess, so even emulating it is a problem. It freezes all the time. It used to do that even on the console with the disc. I have the disc for my 360, I believe. But yeah, this game, I'm excited. This is big news for me. We'll see if I get back into college basketball again. I've been away from it for a while. I've been more into women's college basketball. That's been a lot more fun to watch. And with the Philadelphia get a WNBA team in 2026, I will probably, or 2030, I will probably be more into women's college basketball just to get to know the players there. But this will be interesting. See if they split it, men's and women's basketball on here, because women's basketball is becoming just as popular March Madness tournament as the men. So it'll be interesting. I'm very excited for this. I know it probably won't be till like 2028 or something like that. But yeah, I'm glad that they're finally going through with it. So moving on to the Nintendo section, where Nintendo finally does the thing of revealing who's actually making their video games. Nintendo finally reveals developer behind Switch 2 launch title, Welcome Tour, which many said should have been included for free. Apparently the studio that makes Mario Party, studio Nintendo Cube, formerly ND Cube, has now updated its website to confirm the work in the game. They still won't tell you exactly who made the game, just the studio. But yeah, so they made this announcement. Nintendo Cube's most recent release released the functional Clubhouse Games 51 World Class Classics for the Switch 1, and before the infamous Everybody 1-2 Switch. So that's who's made Welcome Tour, if you were interested in it. And more importantly, next story, the Donkey Kong Bonanza developer is finally confirmed. And it has implications for a new 3D Mario. Nintendo has finally confirmed the development team behind Donkey Kong Bonanza. As many fans had suspected, the upcoming Switch 2 blockbuster is being made by the team who previously worked on Super Mario Odyssey. Odyssey released for 2017. So the thought would be that, they were working on another 3D Mario for the Switch 2, but it looks like their big thing is Donkey Kong. And if they have to, unless they're working simultaneously, looks like they'll probably have another 2-3 years before if they're making the next Mario. Unless a whole new studio's making it. Who knows? Maybe they're making a 2D one for in the next year or two to release first. But yeah, so this announcement just throws a whole monkey wrench into whether we're getting a 3D Mario game. So, yeah, just thought I'd drop those two. That was pretty cool. Nintendo has famously never really told you who the development teams are, unless if it's like a big deal. And, it's very rare. It takes them a while to announce it, and then slowly things leak out, and it's just a weird process Nintendo has for this stuff. So the fact that we got 2 in 1 week is very surprising. Moving on to the next story. Younger Americans have spent 25% less on video games this year than last. I pulled this story, and we'll be real quick about this. I'll just read the story. While spending was down 13% across the board from January to April 2025, this is for video games, 18 to 24-year-olds, particularly on accessories, technology, and furniture, or maybe this is the whole economy, sorry, which fell by 18, 14, and 12% respectively. Video games spending saw the largest fall. This is not a trend observed in older news groups. So younger grads are having much tougher time finding jobs. Student loan payments are restarting for millions of borrowers. Over roughly the past year, credit card delinquency rates have risen to their highest point since before the pandemic, and are the highest for those 18 to 29, according to the New York Federal Reserve. So I really just pulled this. You can read the full story or go to Bloomberg for their deep dive into it a little bit, because I see the reason behind this just from observing my niece's game habits. They are not so much on top of the new games as you would think. Like, her rotation with her friends and boyfriend are Rainbow Six Siege, Marvel Rivals, Fortnite, and Minecraft. Like, those are the 4 games they play. They don't play anything else. Or at least my niece doesn't play anything else. She still plays Roblox here and there, which I'm trying to get her out of. But yeah, she has no interest in, well, she doesn't buy any of her video games. But she has no interest in buying games. No interest in any of that stuff. These are the games they play, and that's all they do. I would imagine sports games probably haven't gone down, because you can get a lot of younger boys would like to just play their Madden or their FIFA, or I guess FC. And, that wouldn't change much. But, yeah. I've observed this in just the way they talk about games. I don't know if it'll change in the next couple years for her, but yeah, they're not talking about new games like we used to talk about games at the age of 14. It's always these 4 games that they just put a lot of time into. And she's a pretty good Siege player. So, it works. But, like, I tried to talk to her about Expedition 33. Not that big game, but, like, any of these new games that have been, like, big games in the world, that we see at our age group, or even, like, 30 people in their 30s. I can say that now. I'm now in my 40s. People in their 30s, things that we talk about and think are these big news games. Some of the younger generations of teenagers and stuff, they don't know. Like, none of them know that, Metal Gear Delta's coming out, for the most part. Most of them don't know any of that stuff. Yeah. Most of them probably, unless if they, went through the stores, would have no idea about these games. But I remember being 13, 14 years old, I had Game Informer. It was the magazines, they're in such a bubble with just the games they play and games they talk about that they don't think of anything else. I had Game Informer coming to my house every month. I had Game Pro. I would used to buy EGM whenever we go to the store, supermarket and stuff. Whenever I would tag along with my grandma, she would buy me either that or WWE magazine, or WF magazine at the time. We had magazines, and that's how I found out about all the stuff coming out that I loved. Like, I found out about Final Fantasy VII through Game Informer. It's one of the... I had a whole case full of Game Informers, which I thought was... I threw them all out, and I thought that was going to be, like, the hoarder wanting things to be worth stuff to me. I thought that was going to be a problem until they came back. Now I'm not as worried. But I kept that one. That was the first time I learned about it. And, I knew the games I loved. Like, I knew everything about Zeldas when they were coming out. I knew all the sports games and stuff because I was really into sports as a kid. But it was really Game Informer, Game Pro, EGM, where I found out about games that I didn't know about, Metal Gear Solid. Then reading about them, then going to Blockbuster and seeing them for rent and renting them and trying them. Like, kids don't have any of that anymore. I guess Game Pass is the closest, but, they're just sticking to what they know, essentially. And very much just playing those 4 games. I keep saying 4. It's probably some people are less, some people are more. But yeah, I'm just saying 4 because that's my niece. My niece plays 4 games. And, that's it. I mean, she'll play party games with me and the family, but in terms of she's on her own on the computer, that's what she's playing. So, I haven't bought her the Avatar game because she loves the Avatar movies. Hasn't really played it. Played it for a little bit, hasn't really played it since. So, yeah. So this was not surprising to me at all. Next up, in like TV, video game / news, only because we talked about the series every time it developed, and I just want to make a quick point. I'll just read the headline, give my opinion, and then move on to the final story. Naughty Dog chief Neil Druckmann step away from HBO's The Last of Us ahead of Season 3 to focus on game development, which is intergalactic. Heretic Prophet, which means Craig Mazin is taking over the show on his own, and I've made my feelings clear on this podcast and other things about how I think Craig Mazin may love this game and these games, but I don't think he understands them. Like, here's the weird thing about The Last of Us from things I've been able to gather since I heard about this news. The heart of the game and the story of the game and the meaning of the game, Haley Gross and Neil Druckmann 100% get. They get, because they wrote that stuff. They get the characters' motivations. They know how to express that to the actors and things like that. Craig Mazin, on the other hand, thinks he knows more than he does about that stuff. But his thing that makes him more positive is that he knows how to direct a show, handle actors in not a motion capture voiceover way, because some of the actors didn't like Druckmann is directing because it's however he does it, so there was like a conflicting thing there, and HBO is going to go with their boy Maze, and I think it's going to be detrimental to the show. If they keep Haley around, I'll have a little bit of faith. I didn't see that, but yeah, so Mazin will be writing the shows. I don't know what that says about Haley Gross, but I think she needs to stay on. She's very, very, very important to the show. But yeah, I think this is only going to tank the show more. I hope I'm wrong, but I had no faith in Craig Mazin after this season, and a lot of decisions he made that I did not agree with, and I don't think he understood the characters enough. That's why this season, as IGN said, they said 9 out of 10 for Season 1, 7 out of 10 for Season 2. I kind of agree. I might even go lower for Season 2. And it has nothing to do with the actors. Actors were fantastic in this. I just think the material and the way they shot the season, no good. No bueno. Alright, final story. Talking all about the Game Pass stuff. I thought again, BDS, boycott, divestment stuff. So if you drop Game Pass, you can stop listening at this point. But I just wanted to announce the games for those of you that still have it. Legend of Mana and Trials of Mana are available. I have Game Pass Ultimate, so I had already had these downloaded. Now they're just, you know, but now if you just have standard, they're there. Ultimate Chicken Horse, that is has come out. On the 8th, on Tuesday, The Ascent. I guess that's Minami Lane. That's July 9th. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 and 4. It's July 11th. And High on Life is back on July 15th. Also, Retro Classics is a batch of new games for subscribers. This is Microsoft's collaboration with Ink Arcade to bring games back from... Hi, Dan. Thanks for the applause. To bring arcade Activision stuff from the 80s and 90s. Cosmic Commuter, Heart of China, Skiing, Solar Storm, and Subterranea. Thank you. Let me put the thing up so that the video crowd can see what you said to me. Thank you, bro. And the game's leaving Game Pass on July 15th, so if you have Game Pass and you have these games, you need to beat them by July 15th or purchase them. Flock, Mafia Definitive Edition, Magical Delicacy, Chia, the Callisto Protocol, and The Curse of the Golden Idol. So yeah, that'll do it for our show. Thank you for hanging out on my birthday here today. I was hoping to do more of a birthday stream, but the surprise lunch family thing threw my plans into a blender, and then I had to do other stuff. So I was just able to do this show tonight. For those of you watching live, I probably will not do Death Stranding 2, but I will be back with that sometime next week. So hopefully you can check it out. House cleaning, run of show stuff, or run of podcast channel stuff. Monday, tonight, if you're listening to the podcast, Retro Roulette Endurance run of mine. We're starting my Mega Man journey. We're going to be doing Mega Man 1 for the Nintendo Entertainment System. And then definitely on Thursday, we have Final Fantasy 6 on there. And then Friday, I might play some college football just to show that game off for you guys. And then Death Stranding will definitely be on Saturday and Sunday. I may, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I may do a Death Stranding in there. Or two. But, you know, those are the definites for now. News Hour on Sunday, Saturday, Sunday, Death Stranding 2. Friday, probably some NCAA football. Thursday, Final Fantasy 6. And then we'll go from there. So, yeah. Thank you guys for joining me. It's been fun as always. I am now officially a 40-year-old man. So you can just call me one of the olds going forward. And I will try to have this podcast not sound like someone walking up to high school kids and saying, "Hello, fellow kids." So I will try my best to keep my youthful energy going here. So once again, thank you for joining me, and we'll see you tonight if you're listening to the podcast or YouTube, or tomorrow if you're watching live for some Mega Man. See you then. Bye.